if we look at the genesis of these urban centers, what we find is that these urban centers could grow for many reasons. And one of the very important reasons for the growth of these urban centers were political. We see, for example, if we can take the case of Hastinapur. Hastinapur was a very important political hub of the Kurus, and naturally it developed into a very important urban center. Pali text talks about a flood in Hastinapur, and which is again correlated by the archaeological evidence, where we have the evidence of flooding in Hastinapur. Then again we have the case of Rajagriha, where it was well protected. We have Rajghat near Varanasi, where we have a pre-urban phase, but we could see the incipient urbanism in this period because we have the northern black polished ware, of which I just mentioned before. So one point regarding the genesis of urbanization could be political. But the other very important reason for urban growth would be linked to the proliferation of people in a particular center. Urban centers were looked at areas of convergence where people from different areas used to come and meet. There were craft specialization, craftsmen was there, and it was mainly a locality where you have a very strong non-food producing group, and they were specializing in crafts and artists, and we have artisanal objects also. The third point regarding the genesis of urban centers could be a site of pilgrimage. We can have the example of Vaishali. Vaishali developed as a very important pilgrim center during the time, during the period we are referring to, that is around 6th to 5th century BC. And then we find that there are many people actually came to Vaishali as a part of pilgrimage, and there Vaishali turned into a very important urban centers with the accumulation of so much of wealth from the pilgrimage and the visits of the pilgrims to this region. Therefore, three factors which are very important for the growth of an urban center was that it could be a political center, it could be a center where people converged, a center of linkage where you have the craftspersons, and then finally it could be a pilgrimage center. Now, there are different kinds of opinions regarding the formation of an urban center, and particularly regarding the formation of second urbanization. We have two groups of historians who actually have propounded the view, and there's a debate whether iron or use of iron implements was important in the growth of our urban center. So we have D.D. Kosambi, R.S. Sharma and N.R. Banerjee, who talks about the growth of urban centers in the context of the use of iron. This is because, as I have mentioned earlier, that the 6th century BC is a phase where you have we have the proliferation of the painted grey ware, and painted grey ware is being equated with the Iron Age culture. Now, with the use of iron, the iron plowshares were replaced by the wooden plowshares were replaced by the iron plowshares, and when you look at the territory of the Ganga Valley, you can very well imagine that the soil with which the iron plowshares were very important for the cultivation of those soils, and therefore you have the surplus in the agrarian milieu. And when you have a surplus, it was the point of view of the historians who propounded the cause of iron use. They said that when you have a surplus, that surplus could be used for the non-food producing people who were living in the urban centers, and therefore naturally you have the proliferation of urban centers.